This is the Aya Aum Podcast. If you're watching on video, listen to the full episode on Spotify. Today's episode is about practice. Practice and the art of self-cultivation. Practice here refers to a conscious process of cultivation. Now, this could mean ritual practice as in your morning meditation, morning routines, but in each and every moment you are always practicing something. There's some action taking place in your life, and the whole art of practice is that you, in the general system, begin with a morning and evening practice, check-in points that set the tone for your day, that help to program the subconscious. But it evolves so that you're always practicing something. This is a higher level of practice than you may begin with, but this is in some sense the goal. It's a higher level of consciousness that is offered through the dedication of you putting your time and effort into practicing. And this is what I really want to speak on, is how beautiful, how fun, how stimulating practice is. So I've been practicing my whole life, but I've really developed the art in the last 5 years. I spend at least 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening, often longer, and often several hours, 1 hour here, an hour there. So about 2 to 4 hours for the last 5+ years of doing some kind of conscious process or practice. There's been a lot of yoga, the complete system of yoga, so not just the physical movements of asana, but meditations and breath work. But this could be inner work of any kind. This could be free writing for me. This could be other forms of exercise as well. Not just mixed mind body arts like qigong, but other martial arts. But it's a dedicated time for self-cultivation. What am I cultivating in my life? I have Taoist and tantric sexual kung fu practices. How am I cultivating myself as a lover? I have cultivation practices for when I perform martial arts. How am I cultivating myself as a warrior? There's a real conscious process here of determining what you want, who you are, which archetypes or energies you're embodying, and how do you best rise to the standard you want to live at, so that you can best embody those archetypes, which is a form of self-realization. They're active within you, they're roles that you are walking into playing. And how can you have fun with it? There's a system that I use, and I feel like if you're going to have a practice, work with a system, work with a good developed system. This is something that I help people with in holistic coaching. And this is something that I've learned off of many great teachers and many great systems, such as the yogic system and the 8 limbs of yoga. The 8 limbs of yoga is a multi-step process of achieving samadhi, or a deep state of absorption, of meditation, which is yoga, which is the true yoga of union. There's a place beyond body-mind where an individual in their consciousness can come in contact with a unified experience, also known as the soul. But we're not going to get too deep in that to take us off the topic. This system is developed with that highest purpose. But the system has yamas and niyamas, which you can think of as internal and external rules of conduct, kind of these virtues that when you practice, you integrate into your nervous system. This is getting at the conditioning of what's deep within you. I think most people are privy that most of what we perceive is actually the product of our subconscious, which is about 90 to 99%, depending on how you want to look at it, of what's actually happening. What actually occurs in our life is the product of our conditioning, or at least that's how we perceive it, right? So if we want to change our life, we need to change this basic coding, which is like the software that's written in the hardware of the body-mind. If we want to get at that, we want to make it a conscious process, and we want to have it more preferable to the life that we want to live. There needs to be a conscious programming of the old system, rewiring it, and then what do you want to call in? What do you want to be? So there's niyamas, which is the second limb of yoga, and these are the ones that I've been working with. Discipline, purity, equanimity, self-study, and self-surrender. And I'm not saying you have to do these in your practice, but these ones have worked with me. So it's like, whatever you do, whatsoever you do, whenever you do it, wherever you do it, you can practice these principles. So, in my practice in the morning, how can I develop and offer discipline to what I'm doing? Well, if I'm doing yoga, how can I stay dedicated, devoted to my breath? Devotion and discipline go very well together. It can sometimes go a little bit awry if they're separate. So if I'm having discipline, I'm in there with my breath, with my focus. When my mind, as the mind does, distracts itself or has something else come up as a subconscious program, I pull it back. That discipline that I offer as a mind program, as an embodied action, mental, emotional, and physical, is something that I can take out into my day. I've cultivated that virtue, that quality of discipline in the mind and the body. This is what I want to offer my life. This is what I want to offer my family. This is what I want to offer the people I work with. Discipline is really important to me. So is devotion. So is purity. So is equanimity. Now you can practice these wherever, whenever, and it's important to practice them, as I mentioned, all the time. Because you want to practice them so much that you do them enough that it becomes who you are. This is how we reprogram the nervous system. We actually change the conditioning, so it's not something we're practicing. It's not something we have the effort to do. It just becomes who we are. And this is a really magical transition when the effort to be disciplined is no longer there. There's no longer concentration, there's just meditation. There's something that shifts and it actually integrates. That's when it lands. And this could take many cycles. I say cycles and not years or a certain amount of time. Because when conditioning shifts, it's a product of, divine timing. It's a product of the right amount of energy. Not necessarily just a rote amount of repetitions will get you there. Because our desire, our will, our surrender to get there is instrumental in how that shifts over. But there is this process, like learning how to ride a bike, of a lot of effort and thinking about all the things, but once you get it, it just flows and you don't have to think about any of them. That's from subconscious to subconscious transitioning. The motor patterns have been learned. So if you want to carry this discipline through your day, take a devoted time to spend in discipline, and then that carries through. If you just try to be disciplined without the practice, it's much harder to do that. The practice primes you, it builds that energy up in you. Same thing with equanimity. And this has been the transition from desiring to be happy into living in equanimity as a priority has been such a fundamental shift. It has opened more doors than I could have ever imagined, because it lets go of a lifelong subconscious desire to seek happiness and to try to permanently be on that upswing, which has an inevitable downswing as we're in a dual world at a certain level of perception. And in this world, highs come, lows come. Highs comes, lows comes. Equanimity is where you can meet yourself where you're at and be at peace. There's a certain portion of you that doesn't have to be simply in the energy of being discomfort, of being uncomfortable, pardon me. There's a certain part of you that is not the body and the mind. This is the aspect of you that we are looking to cultivate a connection to. So when you cultivate equanimity, a contentment with what's going on, you cultivate a higher principle than the circumstance. So if the circumstance is rough, it's raining, there's trouble afoot, if you can remain centered in that, the part of you that remains centered is the part of you that is superordinate to the circumstance. This is a superpower. Now, when you practice equanimity, you practice this in traditional systems in meditation. This is simply allowing everything to be as it is. I had this realization, and it was quite shocking when I finally learned how to meditate. And when I say I learned how to meditate, it's that transition point where it was no longer an effort to meditate. I could sit, and sitting wasn't something that I had to force myself to do. I didn't have to set a timer. I didn't have to say, oh, I should meditate because it's good for me. All those systems and programs and encouragements fell, and I enjoyed sitting. And then I, not craved in that traditional crave sense, but there was a natural way that I developed in my life where meditation was a part of my life. It was natural to do something when the action was done, to take a sit, let it integrate. I've taken part in many pleasurable things. I've eaten so much good food. I have watched so many good things. And at the end of the day, I don't want to continue to watch those and continue to go in desire cycles, fueled by dopamine. I can just sit. And I realized I couldn't just sit for so long because of those old desire programs, because I was seeking happiness, and because I couldn't be with what was going on within me. Because when you sit in meditation, what happens? Oh, laundry list. Oh, this comes up. Mind busy. Mind programs. Oh, I'm not doing it right. Oh, what is discomforting? My back hurts. My knees hurt. My body hurts. Oh, I'm not in shape. One thing after another. Well, yeah, it's not going to be easy to sit. But the meditation is not to perfect complete silence, perfect body, perfect health. Sure, those are reasonable things to strive for. Meditation is equanimity. It's awareness. Awareness of what is. And when you practice in that way, you can develop a relationship with those thoughts. Know the feeling of those thoughts. And know what's really going on, because there's a lot of self-love pieces. That's how it was for me. It was hard for me to sit with myself because it was hard for me to feel who I was, because there was all these worries and unprocessed emotion and negative body judgments and thinking I had to do something because stress, money, whatever it might be. when I was fully able to surrender and realize that life is happening for me, from me. I'm the empowered one who is in charge of my life. I don't need to control everything outside of me, which means I have time and space, and I can make that time and space to just take it easy, because this is part of staying in harmony with truth, with Dhamma, with the Dharma. Staying in truth with the universal laws, and we stay in harmony, I stay in harmony. When I'm balanced, I have effort in my life and I have ease. I have external activities and worldly affairs that I'm a part of, and I have an inner spiritual dimension, inner work to tend to as well. My body needs movement and it needs stillness. Desire cycles, dopamine, good. Relaxing, staying content, meditating, serotonin, good. There's a balance there. So your practice can help to bring you into universal harmony, because we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. We take care of this one, everything else gets taken care of. Yes? All the problems in the world are in this one. No problems in the world without this one. Yes? So when we learn to let go, we loosen the attachment to those problems. This comes with equanimity. It's being okay with what is. And then a problem doesn't have charge. It doesn't have a problem. And then it's like doing a puzzle when you're a kid. Oh wow, we have a problem? Cool, let's play. Let's make bigger problems so that we can go on a quest and solve them. So we take the charge off by remaining in equanimity, equal. Not positive, not negative. When we're in balance like that, we can see the positive and negative clearly. We can still choose, we still have choice. But we don't have expectation and attachment to that choice. Equanimity develops us in a way that we have more resilience. And then this can be practiced. This is a cultivation. What do you want to cultivate in your life? I really also love the virtue of surrender. And because think about this. The greatest ecstasy you can ever imagine. I was going to give a graphic display of what came to my mind, but not necessary. Mostly inappropriate, probably. Well, I guess it depends who you are. I'm just not going to share it. But it was juicy. There was lots of liquids coming out, and it was amazing. But think of your favorite. I almost lost the whole topic. I think I went into it. Think of the most. I actually did totally forget what I was saying because I went into it. Oh my Lanta. Surrender. Okay, I'm back on track. Think of the most juicy thing, but don't lose your discipline. Stay focused on it. Juiciest thing in the world. You have to surrender to that sensation. You have to surrender. And think of the most painful thing that you've ever experienced. Well, you don't have to go too deep into that, but maybe just think about being pinpricked. You have to surrender to that too. Either way, either polarity, surrender is the same. You're always surrendering. Surrender is not forfeiting. It doesn't have a negative charge necessarily. Surrender is the act of being with what is. So it goes well with equanimity. And developing surrender in your life will bring you into harmony with the universal order.